let's talk about the wonderful idea of videotaping, because it seems like it can be one way, right? The government can videotape and monitor you and do all this stuff in a public space, and that's legal. But say, for example, you decide you want to videotape a police officer. What's going on with that, Jones? What's going on with that? I'm gonna let you bring us into that conversation.
Well, the case that you're referring to is apparently a individual was driving. I think he was part of the service, Marine or something of that nature. But he was driving and he was he was cut off by someone in an unmarked car, and it turned out that it was a state trooper. So the state trooper actually came towards him and was, I guess, administering his duties. And the gentleman taped him, but he taped him and put it on the internet.
Right.
And at that point, they started trying to use the argument that once you do that, you have, you violated some of the wiretapping laws. We're stretching it because they're talking about the audio and being put on, on the internet.
I think he was an Air Force sergeant. I think the gentleman's name was Graber, and I think he's from the state of Maryland. And he was speeding supposedly, so they stopped him. But the guy, his conduct within the video is what was so troubling, because he didn't identify himself. He was brandishing the gun, and he did all of this stuff while being videotaped. And so it seems like the idea that what's good for the goose is not good for the gander, because police have been videotaping stops for years, and there's been no consent given to the police to videotape me or my audio of my conversations. And how many times have you watched cops on TV where you've seen people be videotaped? I'm sure nobody signed any release that got arrested or anything like that. So how can we even come with this whole thought that the police can now have some type of special privilege that American citizens don't have?
Well, the argument they were trying to make is they're trying to say that in some states, the law states that if someone's going to be videotaped or taped, that both parties have to consent. But that's supposed to be in a private environment, and when you're out, in the public doing your job as a police officer, you're in the public. So that argument is as weak as it is, was something that was put forth. So they had that, as well as the issue of trying to, make it a problem because of the interstate.
And I think that we should be more sensitive to that issue, Zach, because we're the ones that are getting stopped by the police more than anybody else.
That's the thing. That's why I have issues. I certainly respect the president, and I certainly support his agenda. But when you have this notion that all boats rise together, it doesn't necessarily happen. It hasn't historically, and particularly as you talk about different issues like racial profiling and police matters. We in many ways become an Amadou Diallo or an Oscar Grant, rather than somebody who gets to walk away and then put something on the internet, But yet still, we're still characterized as being violent, criminal, and still disproportionately placed into the criminal justice system, the media, criminal, complex disproportionately. So, I mean, we don't benefit. And again, our silence is amazing, particularly as an African American community and as a community in general. But I think for a lot of people, it's out of sight, out of mind. But we may have that sort of mindset, but the world is not functioning like that. The world is integrated, and it was well integrated well before Malcolm Gladwell told us that it was. But it is, and so people have to understand that things work together in ways that they don't really necessarily process. They assume that these are isolated incidents. That this moment here, what I do on Facebook, this situation here, they're disconnected, but they're all connected in many ways, and that's how a lot of the social forces and the government forces are organized. To kind of keep things kind of in some type of order. And so people who, in many ways, are citizens have to understand this is how this works. But a lot of people don't really know their rights and their legal responsibilities. And so if they were more aware of that in the tradition of the Black Panthers, then they might be able to better deal with the situation. But things have changed even since then. But at very least, people need to be aware of their rights as citizens in such cases like that. And I don't think most people are aware. And so most people, they'll resort to the least, most, effective thing they think possible, and that's taking that, taping it, and putting it on the internet. And again, you said, it plays out very differently based upon who it is.
Yeah, and I was torn between the story because I thought he should have taped it, and then if he went to court, pull out the smoking gun. Similar to the situation that we had here in New York where somebody independently taped that police officer who wound up losing his job because he was saying that he pushed the bicyclist. Right. And he said that the bicyclist was at fault, and it turned out that it proved very definitely that he just did it maliciously. So So I mean, it's nice to have that smoking gun as opposed to just posting it on the internet. But on the other hand, you have to understand that a lot of things, when you go to court, it becomes inadmissible.
Right.
And I guess this person said, look, I want to make sure the general population knows what's going on before, you know, I push the issue. So you have that dilemma where you don't know whether or not you're going to be stopped with legalese,
Right.
you know, or if you're going to be able to actually get your story told.
But look what they did to him now. I mean, they confiscated his computer. They searched his house. The woman, Miss Ford, down in Florida, when she was videotaping the interactions they had with her son with the police, they arrested her. They detained both of them. These are intimidation tactics that they're using, and they're not legal. And they're threatening people to stop them from using, what is it, their First Amendment right? Mm-hmm. And this is a public space. If you can film me, I can certainly film you.
Yeah.
And this is about not only filming, but this is about accountability